The Volume Podcast.
My name is Osamu Saito. I'm a principal policy researcher at the Institute of Global Environmental Strategies. So I've been working on the field of the biodiversity and ecosystem services and landscape ecology for the more than 15 years. Before I started working as an academia, I also worked for the consulting firm in Tokyo, environmental consulting and planning company for 6 years. And in 1992, there was a huge conference. It's called the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. And it was the first the international UN conference on the Earth's environment. And in 1992, the international kind of the Convention on the Climate Change was also approved, enacted. And also the Convention on the Biological Diversity, CBD, was also created. The third one is the Convention on the Combating Desertification. So three major environmental conventions are created, and there was a kind of huge kind of attention on the environmental issues, including climate change, biodiversity, and desertification. So that kind of the momentum also influenced me, and then so I decided to continue working on the environmental issues and try to contribute solving some issues relating to the environmental issues. But at the same time, I also had a kind of dream to work for the getting the PhD degree and then also the becoming professor at the university. I decided to move to the PhD degree course at Tokyo, and then decided to study about landscape ecology with a kind of multidisciplinary approach. So by starting PhD degree, I already have the many experiences in the field of the environmental consulting. So from both natural science and the social science. So I use both natural science, social science approach for my PhD studies, which is about the secondary forest management in Tokyo and the surrounding area. And I investigated the traditional the forest management practices by farmers in the rural areas, and I realized some of the forests are already abandoned, and then but there is no study about how abandonment of the forest affect the species composition of the forest, and also the species biodiversity of the forest. So I investigated the changes by the forest abandonment and what's the reason behind the forest abandonment. So that was my PhD dissertation. And after getting the PhD degree, I was kind of headhunted to the Osaka University, one of the national universities located in Osaka, as an assistant professor. And during working Osaka University, I had a chance to join the launching a new research center for the sustainability science. So that's the first time I kind of met the concept of the sustainability science, which I will explain later a bit more. And then so that's the first the career as an academia. Then I moved to the university in Tokyo, and then the United Nations University Institute for Sustainability and Peace, and that is which is called the UNU-ISP, and the UNU-ISP was also the reconstructed to the another institution which is called the United Nations Institute for the Advanced Study of the Sustainability. So and then I worked the UNU IAS, Advanced Study of Sustainability, for about nearly 10 years. And then last year, I moved to the Institute of Global Environmental Strategies, which is also located nearby Tokyo.
Hi, Osamu. Thank you for the thorough introduction. It's important to understand where somebody is coming from. So, on that note, so what's in you that drove you to study and do what you do today?
I think the backbone is the why I decided my work is that I was born in the very small town, or even with less than 8,000 population, surrounded by mountains. And but I had a lot of chance to every day. Actually, I walked around the nearby mountains and play around such kind of very rural environment. So for me, the nature is part of my life. But I realize, I also kind of observed the rapid changes in the rural areas and the rural natures for the last 30 years, 30 and 40 years in Japan. I was very interested in how these changes taking place and how that affect the environment, how that affected our life. So that's my kind of fundamental question for me. How to make our life in harmony with nature.
So, you talked a little about sustainability science. So, how is your work today? What do you do?
So I have a couple of the courses, and one of the course major kind of conceptual kind of the concept is sustainability science, which was kind of launched early 2000, and now more than 25 international peer-reviewed journals started and used the term of the sustainability. And it started around year of 2000, and then the pioneer journals. One of the pioneer journal is called Sustainability Science, which is published by Springer. Now the Springer is merged with Nature, so it's called Nature Springer. And I'm actually now working as a managing editor of Sustainability Science Journal since 2011. The journal itself was launched in 2006. And in 2006, at the same time, the proceeding the National Academy of Science of the United States also started Sustainability Science section. So that is the kind of first peak, the kind of boom, launching sustainability science. And then, as you know, the Sustainable Development Goal was also approved by the international communities, the UN organizations, in 2015. Then also the more and more journal started to use the concept of sustainability and sustainability science. So now it's really becoming very popular. So as a managing editor, I'm hosting and operating editorial office of the journal, and last year we received more than 600 article submissions, and out of that we published nearly 200 articles.
So, it's interesting to see that sustainability science is started somewhere. And so, explain to us a little bit, what is sustainability science?
It's the main target, the interaction between nature and society and nature and human, with interdisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach. But it's also emphasized the importance of the transdisciplinary approach, which is different from interdisciplinary approach. Interdisciplinary approach is still within academia, so that we use a different discipline, but it's not beyond the science community. But when it comes to transdisciplinary approach, the collaboration with the practitioners and other NGOs or other policymakers, so beyond academia, cooperation beyond academia is quite important. To the reason why the sustainability science is also seeking problem oriented and solution seeking, and also the social implementation of the solution. So when it comes to making society changes through the social implementation of the solution, you need collaboration with the multiple stakeholders. And also in systemic science, you have to look at the problem from multiple angles, not only from the environmental angles, but also the social angle, the economic angle. So the multi-criteria evaluation is also quite important, and providing science-based assessment with multi-criteria evaluation is quite important for the sustainability science. So that's some of the key concepts of the sustainability science. And then now the promoting SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, is also the quite important research agenda for the sustainability science.
So you were able to watch sustainability science develop and grow and be popular and create different fields and areas. So how do you think this affected your vision of the world, and how do you think this affect the life of whoever is listening to the podcast right now?
That's a difficult question. People are becoming more understanding the complexity of the environmental problems like climate change. It's not only the concentration of the carbon dioxide or the greenhouse gas emission, and then the behind the greenhouse gas emission, there are many multiple reasons, and also the not only the economic activities but also the various the choices people make, like choice of the transportation or choice of the digital devices, or using the different more different type of the food and food waste. All things are connected, and then when it comes to reduce the CO2 emissions, you have to change your life. And so people are becoming understanding the complexity, and then it's not easy, and there is no kind of silver bullet or the panacea to solve the problems immediately. But people becoming understand the gradual and also the consistent effort to change and also to solve such kind of complex the environmental problems. And of course, there is a voices that is not enough, but we have to continue. We should not stop. So that kind of the mentalities, I think, the becoming penetrating and in the world. So that's also I think that the people change their views for the last 10 years, or of course after the SDGs, people understanding these 17 goals. They can not immediately change or achieve 70 goals at that time, but people understanding the connection of the different goals, and also that try to link with their lifestyle and 17 SDG goals. So yeah, I think it's not that easy to achieve everything at a time, but it's very good to people understand the importance, the changing their views and also their lifestyles.
So as we see the development, we also think, how can we make it faster? So would you have any suggestions or any ideas on how we should do that?
I think that it's quite important through the interaction with the different people, so that the people should also connect it and cooperate to achieve such common goals, and also through the collaboration and connection with other peoples, practitioners, researchers, and policymakers, youth, and the other groups. Then I hope that the people can also equip kind of multiple sensors or lens to view the world, and also the try to keep on improving the quality of the sensitivity of those sensors. So that is that's my kind of vision, and also the hope that people can kind of equip such kind of multiple and sensitive the sensors to view the world, and that also I think that will mobilize the people toward a better and sustainable world.
So this is a field that talks a lot about the future, and I would like to ask you, how do you see your work in 10 years, and how do you see your field of work in 10 years?
So in my field, compared to the climate change, the biodiversity is still getting behind in terms of the policy making. So that in next 10 years, I hope that the more and more the strong the policy will be introduced to meet the new international the target after Aichi biodiversity target. Aichi biodiversity target expired already in 2020 and couldn't meet most of the target, couldn't achieve the most of the target and the goals. So now the international community is discussing the new target, which is called post 2020 by global biodiversity targets and framework. It will be targeting 2030. So actually the next 10 years, we also need to achieve the new biodiversity targets. So I hope that my research can contribute achieving also the framing new goals and targets, and also the achieving new biodiversity goals and targets. That's my kind of idea how I can contribute for the next 10 years. But when it comes to the AI and machine learning things, I think more those will also contribute. It's already machine learning is widely used in the modeling of the natural capital, nature, and ecosystem services. In one of my projects already applied machine learning techniques for the modeling the ecosystem services. So these, and also in addition to machine learning, virtual reality technologies will be more used in the research and also the education. And also the more and more people enjoy nature through the game and virtual reality. I think my concern is how it will affect the children's capability of the interaction of nature. So there's one way is biophobia. So people don't want to attach, the nature or insect or the, animals. They only enjoy play with animals or the insects through game. And then versus the biophilia. So people getting more feel close to nature and they enjoy playing outside, playing within the holidays or park, green space. So I'm just concerned which directions people and children will go because of this kind of technology. So this new technology can facilitate biophilia, but new technology may also strengthen the biophobia. So yeah, would be the one of my research for the next 10 years.
So I want to bring up the subject of climate change denial. And well, with COVID, we've seen the denialists exist in pretty much the same group. So how do you explain this and what can we do about it?
Well, now because of the SNS and also the other media, the people easily affected by the kind of biased news and also people want to believe what they want to believe. But going back to the scientific evidence, it's obvious the climate change are caused by the human activities. So the sharing fact is I think the most important things to at the starting point. Once they just people stick to what they want to believe, it will be very difficult. But if we start from the fact, I think that it's much easy to find a common ground. I think that we use different terms, even though we have this common ground of the fact, but they try to see the different angles to also manipulate the fact or interpretation of the fact. So the fact checking and having the common ground of the fact is extremely important.
No doubt. Saito Sensei, thank you so much for talking to us. It was a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Oh, welcome. I really enjoy it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Saito, we love it. The Volume Podcast.
Hi. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to get in touch with us, maybe make a suggestion or ask a question, please find us on Twitter at Volume Podcast. Thank you.